Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we will be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, and other role players. Tune in every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for your latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Good day, everyone. Today I'm speaking to Thornton Pillay. He is the winemaker at Highgate Wines, and welcome to About the Winelands, Thornton.
Thank you so much for having me, Will.
It's my pleasure. Tell us a little bit, how did you get involved in the wine industry, and how long have you been a winemaker?
I was born and raised in Durban and lived a typical suburban lifestyle. My parents have been involved in the agricultural industry for many years, working at Freshmark. With regular farm visits with my dad, this inspired me to pursue a career in agriculture. I then attended high school at Western Agricultural College in Moy River, where I was able to experience various agricultural practices such as livestock, dairy, and poultry until I matriculated in 2009. During my matric year, I was introduced to viticulture and oenology via a seminar which was conducted by the Department of Forestry and Fisheries, known as DAF. Shortly after the seminar, I was awarded a bursary to pursue a career in viticulture and enology, where I then applied at Stellenbosch University, and I was accepted to study towards a bachelor's degree in viticulture and enology at Altenburg Agricultural College in 2010. This was a 3-year course, and upon graduating in 2012, I then applied to be part of the Cape Winemakers Guild Protege program. Here in 2013, I was one of 3 graduates selected to join a 3-year mentorship program, which was sponsored by Nedbank. During my first year of internship, I was placed under the watchful eye of Louis Stradom at Ernie Els Wine. During my second year of internship in 2014, I chose to be at Crude Constantia and was mentored by Bula Gerber. It was during this year that I was given the opportunity to produce my own style of wine. I had created a naturally sweet wooded muscadel. It's a sweet style similar to that of the Grand Constant. I was also given the opportunity during my second year of internship to be a part of an international harvest. The CWG program had sent me over to Burgundy, which is in France, and here I was exposed to premium quality Chardonnay and Pinot Noir at Comte Armand in Pommard. In 2015, I was then headhunted by KWB to be the assistant winemaker for the Mentos range and white wine. And after a year's worth of experience and knowledge gained, I then moved back to KZN and found that Highgate Wine Estate was looking for a winemaker. I then contacted the owner, Mr. Rudy Cassier, and my journey of growing vines and producing wines in KZN had begun.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I mean, how are you enjoying it there in being back in KZN? It must be it's quite a change from Stellenbosch, right?
It's quite opposite. In terms of winemaking, it's the opposite to the rest of the world. However, it's quite nice to also be close to my family.
Yeah, I can believe that. So, could you share us a little bit of the history of Highgate Estate and how did they start making wine there in KZN?
Okay, so I relocated back to KZN at the end of 2015, and on arrival, I came across a message on a mutual winemaker group that there was a wine farm in KZN in need of a winemaker. I then made contact with the owner, Mr. Rudy Cassier, and I was then appointed as winemaker in 2016. Um, Initially, Highgate Wine Estate was purchased by Mr. Cassier in 1996. At that time, it was a vegetable farm producing lettuce and carrots, to name a few, under hydroponics. From here, Mr. Cassier had then opened up a farm stall in which he sold fresh veggies daily to the public. By 2002, he had then opened the coffee shop at Piggly Wiggly. And in 2004, with the aid from Sadara Agricultural College, a trial was done in planting vineyards. Here it started off just under a hectare of 25 different varietals, with major plantings being Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinotage, Shiraz, and Chardonnay, as well as Merlot. In 2010, Highgate Wine Estate was the first to have certified a Chardonnay from KZN origin. Um, and between 2010 and 2016, the owner produced wine as a hobby. However, when I joined the Highgate Wine Estate in 2016 as the winemaker, the winemaking had now become professional, and the brand of Highgate Wine Estate was established. From here on, I worked on the vineyards and getting them back to optimal production. Through major vineyard therapy, I was able to increase production. To give you an idea, in 2016 when I arrived, we only produced 1,500 bottles. 2017 went up to 4,500 bottles.
Oh,
2018 we produced 6,000 bottles. 2019 we were on 16,000 bottles, and this year we reached a high of 15,000 bottles as well.
that's incredible. How many hectares do you have under vines?
We currently just have under 5 hectares of vineyard, of which around half of it is in production of grapes, whilst the others are in their first and second year growth. Sorry.
And do you have space to expand? Do you have land to expand on?
Yes, we do have a, around about a 10-year planting program that we have. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, so our ultimate goal is to get around 17 hectares up to 20 hectares in total of vineyards.
Awesome. So besides, I mean, now you're making wine and you said the owner at a coffee shop. What else if a visitor comes to you, are you open for visitors? And if somebody comes to the farm, what can they experience there?
Yes, so to date, I have created about 12 different products offered to the public to experience. At the estate, we offer various tasting options. Um, Bearing in mind, these are 100% estate wines from the grapes produced on the estate. Um, we do have our morning tasting, which comprises of our unwooded Chardonnay, Rosé, and Syrah, and our Chardonnay tasting, which comprises of the unwooded Chardonnay, the partially wooded Chardonnay, and the wooded Chardonnay. I also have red wines that's up for tasting, which comprises of the Highgate Pinotage, our Merlot, the Highgate Cabernet Sauvignon, and the Black Edition Cabernet Sauvignon. We're not doing a tasting of our very own grappa. This comprises of 3 grappas, a plain white spirit grappa of 43%, and 2 flavored grappas, a wild berry and a blueberry flavored, that are both 18% alcohol and sweet.
Oh, that sounds
We
awesome.
have a chocolate. Yes, it is. It's really a great experience. We also have, we now have a chocolate and wine tasting, which comprises of the 3 wines paired perfectly with 3 different chocolates, and the wild berry flavored grappa that's paired with Turkish delight. With this, we also have a cheese and wine pairing, which comprises of 3 different wines with 3 different cheeses. And apart from all these tastings, we also have added experiences such as cellar and vineyard tours and a wine etiquette workshop. We also open our doors to photo shoots, weddings, engagements, and corporate functions.
Oh, that's amazing. So quite a few things going on there. When you say, how many guests can you guys accommodate in your corporate functions?
Um, we currently can go up to, I think it's around 80 guests, if I'm not mistaken. But if it's bigger, then we can make use of the external areas that we have.
Just a quick interruption, but I do need to remind you that we are currently in a very difficult time. The South African government has set up a fund where businesses and individuals can donate to support our country through this crisis. Go to the website now and add your small donation: www.solidarityfund.co.za. Please join us all in the fight against COVID-19. That is at www.solidarityfund.co.za. Now, let's get on with the show. Can you stay over on the farm? Is there accommodation?
Um, there are various outlets, Airbnbs and hotels around the country
In the
area.
area.
There are places for accommodation, not necessarily on the farm, however, short distances actually.
I saw on your website that you also advertise residential real estate. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, we are a country estate that comprises of various shops, clothing stores, food outlets, and the wine cellar where the wines are produced and tasting rooms available. This is the first
Okay.
and only concept of a residential wine estate in KZN, which makes us unique to have the only residential wine estate with commercial shops and a wine estate that
Wow.
produces our own wines from the grapes grown on the estate. With that being said, we do also offer our facilities to neighboring farmers that produce grapes. However, their wines will be made solely for their personal use and not mixed in with our 100% estate wines. The residential estate comprises of 26 houses with a unique architectural design that is upmarket with beautiful views over the mountains. The spaces between the residential houses have no walls between them, but do have vineyards planted between them, which brings about a free living environment and privacy. The residents are within walking distance of the various 23 different shops we have available, which comprises of food stores, clothing stores, the wine cellar, and tasting rooms, with the putt-putt course and a zip line that goes over the vineyards as an entertainment entity. We also have a park run that we do every Saturday and a pine forest that the people can walk through, which is quite uh,
Wow.
good and upcoming. Yeah.
Well, that sounds awesome. So tell us, I mean, back to the important stuff, the wines. Can you tell us a bit more about the wines you're producing and also um, your, your winemaking philosophy?
Sure thing. To date, I'm producing 100% estate wines at Highgate Wine Estate with the wine of origin, KwaZulu Natal. All grapes are grown and produced by myself on the estate from berry to bottle. I'm currently producing single variety wines, um, and I have blended two blends, which will be released during this year, um, hopefully after the lockdown. In terms of my winemaking philosophy, I believe that above all other requirements, a true passion and drive for winemaking is the foundation of producing a premium wine. With these attributes, you are able to overcome challenges and discover your true capabilities. If you love what you do, it shows. This positive energy spreads to others and motivates people to give off their best efforts. Positive thinking, willingness to learn, good communication, and understanding one's strengths and weaknesses also allows us to work effectively in a team, as every person involved in the wine industry makes an invaluable contribution.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I mean, so your wines, where are they sold? Are you exporting any of them, or they're all sold locally? What's the situation?
Um, we are currently selling our wines locally. We are currently producing around 16,000 bottles, more or less, per annum, which is suitable for our local market. However, we are in discussion of entering the export market and targeting upcoming markets such as Middle Africa.
It's awesome. I think a lot. It seems a lot of people are targeting the African market because there seems to be a price premium in Africa. Do you find that to be true?
Um, I agree. It is a market that is untouched, where like the demand is high but the supply is low. So I think if we can tap into that, we can really, uh, set the boundaries and continue to export our wines to those areas.
Yeah. So, okay, well, the other thing that's happened lately is we are all under lockdown. I think. I just wanted to ask you: Are you currently you're on the farm and still working, right?
Yes, I do go in. Well, currently I'm on lockdown, but I do go in to do my necessary checks on the
Okay.
vineyards and the wines actually.
Mm. So, what about any new ideas during this lockdown? Have you thought about online sales or anything similar?
Yeah, so basically, since the pandemic had started, it has really brought me some time into thinking of and creating new ideas and products for the market. And now that we are on level 4, I will then begin my trials on these products.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Nothing has been solid yet, as we are waiting to be reunited with everyone at the cellar. But as soon as the lockdown is over and we are permitted, we will be doing deliveries throughout SA with discounted rates of our wine.
Okay, that's awesome. So, what is the most important thing that you've learned from your wine journey?
Well, for me, being able to produce wines in a challenging area like KZN has really tested the foundation of my knowledge and experience. KZN being a summer rainfall region, which is a complete opposite to the rest of the world, brings about major challenges with growing the vineyard, as powdery mildew and downy mildew becomes a threat to us. But I always say by sticking to the basic principles, these challenges will be overcome and this can be done by following strict viticultural practices.
Okay, that's awesome. So, can you give us your very own wine quote?
Yeah, so I do have a few, but I chose one that I really enjoy. My
Oh,
quote goes as the best wine blend includes friends, family, and laughter.
I like that. That is
Yeah.
actually a very good one. So, Thornton, it's been a pleasure talking to
Thank
you.
you.
If people want to get hold of Highgate Estate and your wines, how do they go about that?
We have various platforms that we make use of. So we have social media such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as which links up to our website. And from there, all our information is available to the public. Our address is on there, contact details, email addresses, etc.
So, Thornton, thank you very, very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description. Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we'll be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, winelands businesses, and other role players. Tune in every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for our latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Good day, everyone, and welcome back to About the Winelands. Today I'm speaking to Philip Mayberg of De Meyer. Welcome, Philip, to About the Winelands.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Well, it's such a pleasure talking to you. I mean, I've been to you. I've been to your place, which is absolutely beautiful. And, I've always thought it would be great to actually interview you. So can you tell us a little bit of the history? I mean, you're the fifth generation Mayberg on your farm. Tell us a bit of your history and, yourself also, how you got involved in the wine industry and of De Meyer.
Yeah. I always say fifth generation to be farming in the area because I'm not part of the farm is part of the old family farm, but as most family farms, pieces were different family members took over different sections and some were added on, etc. But let's say farming in Wildersvlei, fifth generation. And so it's, let's say where we are now, the part where the cellar is, that was added on in 1980. My father did that. My cousin's farm next door to me at Justenburg, and which is very nice to have. There are a lot more family members in the area, which is one is rather lucky having being in the same area for a long time, and farming with family next door. And there are also friends that are other families, not related, that have been farming in this area, the Starks, the Cedarwalls, also for a few generations. So there's quite a connection in the area.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you always been farming with vines?
The farms, are, like most farms in the past, were very mixed. We've only been solely vineyards for the last, I'd say, 15 years. Probably not. Every now and then we plant vegetables, etc., but not on a large scale. We do have lavender, which is also not on a large scale. But before that, the farming was very mixed in this area. There was always vineyard, but with, say, dairy, vegetables, fruit trees. You pretty much cattle and chickens, pigs. So whatever, yeah, and sheep, whatever you can think of, they farmed with. I think my father farmed with everything. Whenever he thought of a new idea, he started farming with it, which is probably wasn't the best thing to do, but because you couldn't, bit of a jack of all trades in the end. You should focus on a few things, I think. That's what we thought. But then you have a look at the other point of view and you think, have all your eggs in one basket. I don't know. So I don't know what the answer is.
I think that answer has changed a lot now. There's a lot of people that focused on the tourism industry in the whole business and never thought that the worldwide tourist industry would come to a standstill. So, that all the eggs in one basket theory has been tested severely in with what we're having at the moment.
You're right. I think up until sort of a week before they announced we were going into lockdown, let's say for DeMea, our most stable income was the hospitality side. Whereas when I say hospitality, cellar door and restaurant and venue income, and within 10 days that was non-existent.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, you have a bit of a diversified business, and I'm interested to hear more about the lavender. I mean, you're bringing a bit of France into South Africa. So, did you start cultivating the lavender? And actually, what I'm interested in is where do you actually sell this?
Yeah, so the lavender, we started off just planting lavender for oil, and my thinking was probably close to 20 years ago now. It's always remained small. It's never, my idea was that if you're farming, that you could add value, that you could make products with your lavender, with the lavender oil, added to different things, which quite honestly I haven't done. So we've just been selling the oil to a few health shops and from the farm. And my thinking was as well, wine is very expensive to move around. If you have to courier it somewhere, it's costly. Lavender in a 10 ml bottles it's very affordable to move around. It's also high value. So if you're looking at the same volume of lavender oil and the same volume of wine, you sort of can't compare it. It's very valuable. So I also thought it was something different to do, although there are a few farms that have it now, as we're not unique. Then a few years ago, we started planting a different variety, which we sell as cut flowers. So that's a lot simpler. We started last week. We pick and bunch, and we sell it just very much locally in Stellenbosch, Paarl, to the few shops, delis, etc. And it's kind of a nice extra business to have, particularly in the winter. And it's also something if we're dropping off wine, it's very easy in Stellenbosch, it's very easy to have a bit of lavender, a few lavender bunches in the vehicle and doing that at the same time. It doesn't, they work well together.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So, I mean, your like you said, your hospitality business. Tell us a little bit about that. You have a restaurant called The Table. I've been there. It's very, very nice. And then, what type of events and stuff do you actually host?
Yeah. So when I say hospitality, it's the table restaurant doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to DeMea, although it is on DeMea. It belongs to Brendan and Lee. They took over the restaurant in September last year, and it's been going for 9 years, over 9 years now, excluding this period with this funny period we're going through at the moment, but it's been going for over 9 years. And when you asked her what other events?
Yeah, I mean, I do events. What else do you offer there when at the farm?
Oh, so besides the restaurant, we've got the old dairy's been turned into a venue, which we host weddings, any kind of. We've had weddings, we've had birthdays, any kind of celebration. small seminars, conferencing. We plan to do a few music events as things open up for the summer.
How popular is live music in the wine areas?
I think if you can get it right, it is rather popular. If you can do it where you have a space where it starts sort of in the late afternoon or in the afternoon on a lawn on the grass with food and a light sort of picnic style food. I think that's quite popular.
And it will go on until sunset, but not much later, because I get the idea that people don't really want to go out too late when they've got to drive.
I think you're right. I think it's harder to if your hours are later at night, it's harder to get a big enough crowd to make it a viable event. And a lot of people don't like to drive out or drive back when it's dark. The countryside, they know street lights, etc., etc., and you get people complaining. So,
well, at least you're not far from Stellenbosch. So in case of a wedding and stuff like that, do people then stay over nearby?
We have a list of about 10 or 12 guest houses in the area within an 8K radius, but often we find people say it's close enough, you don't have to stay over. And you see people arriving with shuttles, with Uber, etc. And you never know how many cars are going to come. Some of the larger weddings, I've always been surprised that sometimes it's even fewer cars than the other weddings, because people do carpooling or share lifts or the shuttles. So you never really know. But it means we're close enough to we're close enough to Stellenbosch, Paarl, northern suburbs. They're just around the corner.
Oh, that's great. So, Philip, your wines, who's your winemaker at the Meyer?
Okay, so at the moment, Francois Haasbroek. So Francois Haasbroek is a winemaker, and Francois is an old friend of mine, and we do sort of a collaboration, probably for lack of a better word. So he still makes his own wine, and under the name Blackwater. So we offer him the facility. So he uses our winery. He's based here, makes his wine, and then he makes our wine for us as well. I think I suppose it's a different way of doing it. It doesn't work for everybody to do it that way, but for me, it works for us for now. Yeah. So
the philosophy that goes into the winemaking, what would you say is the main thing that you guys look at?
I think, so Francois done his second vintage here. I would say our approach has changed quite a bit from previously. And we are, let's say, the first red wine that's solely Francois' wine, let's put it that way, under Francois, is our 2019 Syrah, which is, it's unwooded. It's which is quite different.
That's interesting, yes.
Yeah, lots of fruit. I don't know how else to I don't know how else to explain it. So lots of fruit. It's juicy. To me, it's a completely different style. We call it Syrah as opposed to Shiraz, which in the past we always referred to it as Shiraz. It's a complete different style, but it just seems to work so well, and it's just been selling so well.
So is this also a fact that you could, you don't have to wait to drink it. It's easily drinkable at a younger age. That's one of the reasons.
Exactly, and that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. We want to produce wines in that style. We still have a Cabernet, which will Cabernet just takes a lot longer to be ready. It spends time in barrel, etc. But I have been most surprised at how this wine turned out, and that's the way Francois does it. And to me, we are very happy with what he's done there.
Well, that's interesting. Do you find that the market is changing? With younger people, I mean, especially millennials, seem to be more, less interested in the older style of winemaking and looking for something different.
I think you're right. I'm definitely not a millennial, but even I'm Gen Z. No, I think you're right. It's definitely like that. And I was listening to a talk the other day and it was three American people that Americans are based in very big wineries, and they're the communication, and they were just saying that millennials also, because there was an article quite recently saying that millennials are the biggest threat to the wine industry from the point of view that they're not interested in wine, or not, they haven't taken to wine like the former generations have. I suppose there's just too much choice. But what they also said was, with millennials, you don't try and fool them. Be honest about it. If it's if you have a virtual cellar or virtual winery, don't pretend there is actually, you tell them it's a brand that you buy in, and you do this and you do that. You don't have to tell them it's on the highest peak, the coolest vineyard, etc., etc. Be honest with them, and that's what they're after: honesty, truthful. Being the truth. I think I'm going off the topic there.
No, you're not, because I think also, I mean, part of that truth is things like sustainability and biodiversity, and even people looking at things like vegan wines and stuff like that, which is, is the trend.
Yeah. I was listening to a thing. I'm trying to think of his name now. The boss of Patagonia, the clothing company. I was listening to an interview with him, and he spoke of, I think I've got the word right, regenerative agriculture, as in where everybody's talking about. They're saying, everything is organic and blah blah blah, but also sometimes at a cost. It's also about, yes, organic, but building up the soil. Often there's still topsoil dust, even that you're growing things organically, and etc. etc. But so you got to go a step further, and keeping, just putting back more and more than just. I don't think organic is enough. Not that we're organic, but we like the idea, and it's a process that we'll work towards. But you can still build up your soil in the meantime.
So that's interesting. I also think that,
I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, it does. But I think that the Cape Winelands have a huge advantage in that, if you go to like the big European wineries, it's almost like a production factory, in terms of they're making huge volumes, and it's not necessarily as tourism friendly as we are in the Western Cape. And it gives us a major advantage because people will still go for the experience, even if they drink a little bit less wine. They're still going to drink, they're still going to buy some wine, but they're also going to experience the environment and all the other things that you can offer in a diversified offering of tourism as a lifestyle, rather than just, buying wine and taking it home.
Yeah. I'm almost embarrassed to say I haven't visited enough wine regions of the world to see other, to give a good answer on that. But as in, we're not the only place with smaller wineries. You see many countries with smaller, and even smaller than the average one over here, I guess. Which somehow seem to stay afloat. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's the European or subsidies that they get, but it's that fine line about being large enough, small enough, but that it works. You want to end up being, you don't want to just be small that you got to sell at super high prices, because you just, to me, that's also not right.
Yeah, it's also not, like you say, sustainable over time. Talking about prices and stuff like that, what do you guys have about do you have any specials at the moment, with this whole situation that's going on that you would like to tell us about?
We have been doing case specials, and we changed that. if you come and collect, a full case of something, we have a far better price.
We'll give you
It's
free
also-
delivery if you come and collect, right?
And we do it directly. Yeah.
I'm just joking.
and we do the changes weekly because there's been a mad rush, as with everybody, I think, with as soon as the things opened up. So our stock levels are we're out of stock with quite a few wines, but we're bottling again next week. So I can't tell you exactly because next week we'll have or the week after next, we'll have different, we have more wine on our list, and we'll have the specials on those wines as well. So it's difficult to say that at the moment we're out of rosé, we're out of Chardonnay, etc., and we're bottling those two next week.
So if people want to get information on this, where do they find you where do they get the information from?
We do have a website, but the website is busy being redone. Our online shop is also should be done by the end of this week, I hope. Yeah.
Okay, so you have an online shop that's going to be done, and okay, so we'll put the links on the website down in the description here. Where are your wines being sold? Mostly locally?
Yeah, we export and local percentage, but we're probably about 50-50 or 60-40 export. And our sort of biggest market is, so Germany, Denmark, Holland, England, Africa. And then on the local market, we sell more. Most of our sales are done directly from. In the beginning, we wanted to be everything to everybody, and you wanted your wine to be all over. And as things have changed, we've changed, and now. And I'm not saying it's the correct way or the wrong way to do it, but for now, that's how we're doing it.
Do you think local sales tourism environment?
I see. Yeah, I think it's going to be very important. Obviously, if you have a certain size, export is very important. You don't think you'll be able to, although I've heard stories of surprised you what percentage they sell in the local market. So maybe I'm not as informed as I should be. Important. If you think of, let's say we have few tourists, although I said that I think the tourism will come back quicker than we think. But let's say it is important to be on local, probably more than ever to be. It has changed. I don't think you have to be available in every retail store. Yeah, online shop. We should have done that long ago. The situation now is not the same as during lockdown or not. The coronavirus. Nothing for De Meyer. We do need to improve on our marketing awareness. Been around making wine for 22 years, and I think we're still one of we're quite the social media. We have to improve on that side of our business largely. As I say, I think we're still unknown, and it's time to. I think everybody's improve on our marketing
situation, right? And so that's I mentioned that in wine marketing and that. And so on.
I think definitely it's going to. And if you look at listening to what those three companies were talking about, if you're dealing with particularly the millennials, then you have to speak to them, and that's the way you speak to them. It's not this traditional way of, but it's the online. You can't not get involved I think your business will die if you don't attract them to your business.
Your wine journey has been quite a few years. What have you learned from your wine journey personally?
It's been, do you want the honest opinion? It's a hard business. Not saying it's a tough business. A very nice business to be involved in. I say from an industry rather. Very nice. It's a really nice people, and they talk. If in the wine business, you're part of the same tribe. I think no matter what, retail, journalism, etc., you'll have a common interest, and which is rather nice to treat like that. From the business side, it's difficult. I think no matter what part of the business you're in, it's very capital intensive. For people that have, like any industry, some are flying. I'm not saying the majority coast along. And please, everybody, don't try and be everything for everybody. I'm repeating myself there. It's so easy to get into the trap of someone's blind, and you go, no, we don't. And then you think 3 months later, let's start producing one and sourcing one. It's just just too many. Don't try and do everything.
Oh, that's interesting. So I always ask everybody the same question. Do you have a favorite in the wine industry?
I don't have my own quote, but there like in particular is I don't know whose quote this is the art of winemaking is being able to practice your craft. If you can get that right, then you're doing okay.
That's quite interesting. I've never heard that before. So
Yeah,
that's
I
actually
don't,
awesome.
I'm
So I
not
love
claiming that.
that. So thanks for talking to us, and
Thank you, and
yeah,
thanks
good luck
for
with
having,
everything.
chatting to me.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description. Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we will be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, and other role players. Tune in every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for our latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Good day, everyone, and welcome to About the Winelands. Today I'm talking to Lawrence Rillian. Lawrence is the marketing manager at Darling Cellars. Hello, Lawrence. How are you?
Hi, well, I'm good and you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you coping with the current situation? Everything well?
Yes, yeah, well, in the lockdown, I think it's difficult for anyone and everyone. I'm working from home, so I've been here since the lockdown. We did open, so we can export since Monday, so we've got quite a few exports going out. And production's also started, so at least there's some light in the end of the tunnel. But I think it's a challenging period, and yeah, I think going ahead is going to be difficult as well. So, but be positive, and we'll get through it. So, yeah.
I'm sure we all will. So tell us,
Yes.
Lawrence, how did you get involved in the wine industry, and what is your background?
I grew up in Paarl, so basically I grew up in the winelands. And my father and mother, they used to drink some wine, and obviously I was introduced to wine. Well, growing up in Nepal, and I know a lot of farmers there in Nepal. Most of them, obviously, they delivered to KWV in Nederburg at that stage. It was quite some time back. But yes, so I grew up in the winelands, and I went studying in Stellenbosch and Cape Town, and I did some courses in management and retailing and marketing. After that, I went to Europe and I traveled, and most of the time I stayed in France for about 9 months, and obviously drank quite a lot of wine there.
Awesome. Where in
But
France did you stay?
I stayed mostly in Paris, and then we hitchhiked. I didn't work. We were just I was just after I studied, so I was just having some fun, and yeah, I was very interested in going to France, and yeah, it learned me quite a lot of things, and obviously from wines as well. And we hitchhiked basically through France and stayed at places and stayed with people and on beaches and whatever, as you do at that stage. Those when you were young, like 20 years old. I think nowadays you can't do that anymore. But yeah. So anyway, so I came back, and that was just after the '94. So when the South Africa had the new democratic government. So I was looking for a job, and I found a job in the wine industry, which is basically I worked for a liquor store. And then after that, I worked for wine farms. I started at Boland Kelder, Boland Cellars now these days in Paarl. And from there, I went to Tolbach Winery, and now I'm at Darling Cellars. So, yeah, it's basically in short how I got involved in the wine industry.
Do you actually live in Darling, or do you drive through to the cellar?
No, I stayed in Rebecca still, so I've gone back to my yeah, my wife works in Franschhoek, so we need to have a midway somewhere. So it's either Wellington, Rebecca Still, Vermont, or Malmesbury. And we quite like Rebecca Still, so I also got married here a few years back ago. Okay. But I like the quiet. It's nice and quiet if you want it, and if it can get quite busy during weekends if you want it. So you can do, and it's close. You're close to airport, close to the city. Half an hour's drive to work, so it's not that busy. only traffic is a few sheep and cows maybe in the road somewhere. But otherwise, it's all, no, it's all good.
So, Darling Cellars, can you tell us, give us a bit of history? Our listeners would be interested to hear what the history of Darling Cellars would be.
Yes, Darling, well, we situate about 80 kilometers from Cape Town, in between Darling, the town Darling and Malmesbury. So it takes about 45 minutes to drive from the airport to there, so that's not that far. We established in 1994 as a Mammerweg co-op seller, and then we changed to a company in 1996, and that's where the name Darling Cellars came from, Darling Cellars Pty Limited. Nowadays we have around 18 shareholders, about 900 hectares, 75% red, 25% white. We harvest wine of Orange and Darling, about 5,500 tons, and then we do buy in from other areas that we use for contract packaging. So in total, we can do about 10,000 tons. The seller can do about 10,000 tons.
Oh, that's quite big.
Yeah, we're medium sized. There's sellers that do double and triple and quadruple that. So we in the middle. We're the biggest in our area. In Wine of Orange and Darling, we're the biggest there. There's only four or five wineries in Wine of Orange and Darling, which makes us quite unique. There's not a lot of people that can say Wine of Orange and Darling. So, the whole area is renowned for, obviously, for Sauvignon Blanc and for Shiraz. And then, the past few years, we moved into some nice Chenin Blancs and some nice Pinotages. So it's it's a nice, quite diverse, And most of about 90% of the wines is dryland and bush vines, which also made it a little bit different. So yeah.
So interesting. You said that you moved from a cooperative to a company setup. I assume that you
Yes.
still basically have almost like a cooperative type of structure. In other words, your shareholders will basically still be the original producers, or the producers delivering at your cellar would be the major shareholders,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And of the shareholders, you'll have that 20% kind of ratio. So
Yeah.
20% of the shareholders will deliver probably 80% of the grapes that we get in. But yeah, it's
Amazing how that always works, right? So I see
yeah.
you have I see you guys have a tasting room. So obviously open to visitors. So what can a guest experience when they come to your tasting room?
Our tasting room, we've upgraded our tasting room. We continuously upgrading our tasting room as we go along. So we've got all our wines basically for taste, from the top range down to the entry level range. We do serve light lunches. Not a big menu, but we're not a restaurant. But you can have cheese platters, and you can have choices of 2 or 3 sometimes. Christine, our girl who's handling the sales at the cellar door, she will, like on a Wednesday, she'll have special meals, fish and chips, or she will have, and she will advertise on Facebook and all social media, and you must book pre-ahead, and that was quite popular. So we'll have stews maybe in the winter, and we'll have soups and all those kind of things. And then sometimes we'll have wine pairings with that. We had a sushi and MCC wine pairing some time back. So all of that, and then obviously we have an outside tent where you can sit under the tent. It's raining, or it's cold, or it's sun. We can do cellar tours, but that's only an appointment. For tasting, you don't have to make an appointment. I think it's 20 Rand for 5 wines to taste. And if you buy something, then we waive the tasting fee. So come and join us.
From my perspective, Darling is an interesting place to visit, but it's a bit off the beaten track of your traditional wine route. So, do you actually are most of your visitors locals, or do you get international tourists as well? Are you part of a wine route in that area?
Well, you don't have a specific wine route. At the wine route is Darling wine route. But yeah, at this stage, it's not 100% going. But we do work with each other. So we work with the other farms, and we do have international tasters or people that media and people that come. You can say we're off the beaten track, but I think we're getting more exposure the past few years. A lot of people, the West Coast is growing quite fast, and a lot of people are going there on holidays and on weekends. So they drive past us, and with a lot of things happening in the town of Darling, like the Darling Brew, and all those kind of things, people do come to the area. So it's just not, we get obviously a lot of locals, but we do have a lot of international trade coming through. And since we've started serving light meals, we had an influx of people. I think our people and our turnover in December doubled from the previous year. So we're definitely growing, and we're getting I think the area is growing, and a lot of people are looking for something different. I think a lot of people know Stellenbosch, they know Franschhoek and all the other wine areas. And being so close to the Swartland as well, a lot of people are coming through and maybe on their way to somewhere else, but they'll drive past us and we'll stop and come in. So yes, we do have not the masses obviously that you get into Franschhoek and Stellenbosch, but maybe it's a nice thing just to go if you want to chill a little bit more and get some wines from different areas, different tastes. It's also good.
Excellent. So if I understand correctly, your seller also provides bottling and labeling services, or a range of services to clients besides your producers that are delivering. Am I right if I say this? Can you expand on this a bit more?
Yes, yeah, we do. We do have winemaking. We offer lots of services. So we make wines for other wineries, or we also bottle. We've got our own bottling plant that we do 750 ml glass. And we do have bag and box lines that we do bag and box for contract packaging, for export or local, doesn't matter. So we do provide that services. We also provide, basically we can be a one-stop shop. So we can make the wine, we can bottle, label everything, and we can ship it from our premises for export. So yes, we offer all that services, and yeah, we also IFS and BRC accredited, Vita, all our farmers are Vita accredited. So that helps for all the exports, and we also, as a seller, we are fair trade accredited. So we can do all those services as well.
So who would your largest clients be? Would it be people that maybe want to build a wine brand but don't have their own wine estate, or maybe supermarkets that want to do their own INEAS labels or something like that? Or who would the typical clients be?
Well, it's both. It's all of them above, and so it depends on what are your depends on. So we do contract packaging for a company in Denmark, Amca, who is our biggest client basically. So we do packaging for them. Plus we do obviously sell our own labels to them as well. Awesome. We have retailers that we do brands for. One of them is Co-op in the UK that we do the Chenin Blanc.
I've actually seen that one before at the Co-op, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear that.
Yeah. So yeah, so we do got, and we obviously do local as well. We supply to some other wineries and for their brands, and which they export and all those kind of things. So yeah, we're quite diverse. So we're open for basically anything.
Okay, that's interesting. So I mean, further than this, you're saying, and this, you're making your own label as well, and you obviously have your own vineyards. So tell us a bit more about your own wines and also the winemaking philosophy at Darling.
Okay, so yeah, so we've got quite a few cultivars that we grow in Darling. We've got about 10 different white and about 16 different red cultivars that we can use. But the main ones basically are Chenin Blanc, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. the white side, and then on the red side, Cabernet, Shiraz, Pinotage. You've got some nice Cinzo, yeah, then old Merlot, and then obviously Grenache and all that kind of different reds. So we work in tiers. We've got different tiers of our products. So we have a top tier, which is called the Old Bush Vines, which we have two wines in. We've got a Chenin Blanc and a Cinzo. So both of these wines are also part of the Old Vines project. So the vineyards needs to be 35 years or older. So that's a project we started about 3 years ago, because we had this vineyards that's 40 years and older, and obviously the yields on these were really low. And to try and protect them and to keep them in the ground, we need to make wines of that and obviously sell at a higher price so that we can pay the farmers a little bit more money. So otherwise it's not financially viable for them. So we've got those. That's basically our top range of the Old Bush Vines. Then we have a heritage range, which brings back the heritage of the whole area of Darling. So it's we've got a Sir Charles Darling. He was actually the governor of Cape Town, and in the late 1600s, and the town of Darling was named after him. So we named a wine after him, so Sir Charles Darling, which is a Cab Merlot blend. And then we have Lady Anne Darling, which was one of his wives. He had 3 wives. And that is a Sauvignon Blanc Semillon blend. And then we have a Lime Kilns. Lime Kilns is at the heritage sites on your way to Azerfontein. You'll find they used to make the lime that they paint the white houses on the west coast. So there's kilns that they burn the shells, the white shells, to make this white powder to paint. So that's the other label. And the last one is the Old Grain Silo, which the whole area started as grain farming in some back. So that's the 4 wines that we have in our heritage range. Then we've got a Gustus range, which is a premium range, which is all single cultivars. You'll get Cabernet, Merlot, Shiraz, Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc. We've also got a Bukkentraube in that range, which is quite interesting. Bukkentraube is a cultivar that's long lost, forgotten, actually. I think in South Africa, a long time ago, it was quite popular as a sweeter kind of style wine.
I remember we used
there's
to
about
get
70.
in the 80s, we used to get that on the Stellenbosch wine route. It used to be.
Yes.
But you're right.
Yes.
I actually didn't notice that, but it has been tapering off. I haven't seen it for a while.
Yeah, so there's only 70 hectares left in the world, I think, and South Africa's got about 55, and we've got 5.75. So it's quite a unique, very scarce cultivar, and so we make a dry Bukkentraube, and we sell it under the Gustus brand, which is very popular, and won a gold at Mundus Vini in Germany last year as well. So yeah, that's something interesting, something different, and then we've got our reserve range, which and the Chocoholic is a Pinotage that's part of the reserve range. I'm not sure if you know the Chocoholic. That's like a blue label that's on the market. So it's doing very well. It's one of our best sellers of our red wines in South Africa and international as well. But the reserve range consists of 4 reds and 3 whites and a rosé, a Pajama Bush, which is a Grenache Sauvignon Blanc Grenache blend. So those wines is mainly, you'll find them in basically all of your retail stores. The other wines, it's normally you'll find it online, or you'll find it at the cellar door only, because it's more premium and more reserved wine. And then we've got our entry-level wines, which is a classic, the Cab Merlot, the classic Cab Merlot, Chenin Sauvignon Blanc. Then we've got some sweet wines as well. And we've got 4 MCCs. So we've got an ultra premium MCC, which falls also on the Old Bush Vine range, which is a 36 months on the lease Chardonnay. And then we've got a normal Blanc de Blanc, which sells very well. We've also got a rosé, which is made of Grenache, which we've got a listing in Sweden. And then we've got a sweet white, which is made of Chenin Blanc. So the MCC range is also doing very well. But yeah, that's basically the ranges that we sell. We do have other labels as well, but that's mostly for export or for certain specific customers. But those are the main, basically, tiers and labels that you'll find at our seller door.
Well, this is quite interesting. It sounds to me like, I mean, you were talking about you're doing quite a bit of exports. Just a quick interruption, but I do need to remind you that we are currently in a very difficult time. The South African government has set up a fund where businesses and individuals can donate to support your country through this crisis. Go to the website now and add your small donation: www.solidarityfund.co.za. Please join us all in the fight against COVID-19. That is at www.solidarityfund.co.za. Now, let's get on with the show. What is your breakdown between export sales and the local market? Do you sell in supermarkets, that type of stuff as well, or yeah, I mean your own labels now, or not?
Yes. Yeah, no, we're quite big in South Africa. I think about the end of last year, Nielsen figures, we were in the top 20 of brands in South Africa. So we sell to all the major retailers, restaurants, independents. So all our distribution in South Africa is done by Vinimark, who is our agent, who's doing all the distribution. So yes, so we are quite well represented in South African markets. It is a very big market for us, and it's about 65% of our sales, of our packaged sale, bottled sales, which is important for us. And then obviously the difference, the 30% is for export, 40%. But that's only for our bottled wines. The bag-and-box wines, we don't do that in South Africa, but we do export that. But that's different kind of volume that we do there, quite big. We are available online through different platforms, and the major retailers, I think, with the current situation with lockdown, I think a lot of people are going to start buying online. Mm-hmm. We will also have our own dedicated online site.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, because I mean, obviously with the coronavirus, everyone is forced to rethink their business models, right? I noticed that with some of the previous producers I've been speaking to, they refocusing on their online sales, and also on things like wine clubs and stuff like that to obviously stimulate sales while people might buy now, or if they're not offering a club, they might offer some discounts or something like that. So do you have any changes or new ideas in mind that came around from this whole corona thing?
Yes, I think we need to think differently. We need to do the marketing differently. We need to do the sales differently. So there's a lot of things that will change and needs to change. And some of them are the online sales. I think people will, and depending on how the levels playing out for the next few months, people will do well. They won't have a choice but to buy online if they're not allowed to go to the normal brick and mortar kind of shops. So yes, we are fixing up and getting more online and specials running on there. And if you join, you get a 5% discount and all those kind of things. And so we are all doing that and planning to see what we can do after the lockdown is finished. So I think it's